Me and my possessed grandma. I am alone with her. 10 years ago, as the warm rays of the summer sun streamed through the curtains, I eagerly leapt out of bed, filled with excitement for the adventures that awaited me. It was the first day of my summer break, and I couldn't wait to spend it with my beloved grandmother in her cozy old house nestled in the countryside.
Good morning, Grandma.
I called out as I bounded down the stairs, the scent of freshly brewed coffee filling the air. Grandma was already in the kitchen, humming a cheerful tune as she flipped pancakes on the stove.
Good morning, sweetheart,
she replied with a smile, her eyes crinkling at the corners.
Breakfast is almost ready. Why don't you go sit at the table and I'll bring it over to you?
I eagerly took a seat at the kitchen table, my mouth watering at the delicious aroma wafting from the stove. As Grandma served up a stack of fluffy pancakes drizzled with syrup, I couldn't help but feel a surge of happiness wash over me.
There was nowhere else I'd rather be than right here with my wonderful grandmother.
After breakfast, Grandma and I spent the day exploring the woods behind her house, collecting wildflowers and chasing butterflies. We laughed and talked as we wandered through the sun-dappled forest, the cares of the outside world melting away with each step we took. As the sun began to dip below the horizon, casting a warm golden glow over the landscape, Grandma and I returned home, our hearts full of joy and contentment. We sat on the porch swing, savoring the peace and tranquility of the evening as fireflies danced in the fading light. But as the days passed, I began to notice subtle changes in Grandma's behavior. At first, it was nothing too alarming, just small things that seemed slightly off. She would forget where she put her keys or lose track of time while telling a story. I brushed off these oddities as nothing more than the forgetfulness that comes with old age, but deep down, a nagging sense of unease began to gnaw at me. There was something not quite right about Grandma's behavior, something unsettling that I couldn't quite put my finger on. Then, one night, as I lay in bed listening to the sounds of the house settling around me, I heard Grandma's voice drifting up from downstairs. It was low and guttural, filled with a strange, otherworldly intensity that sent shivers down my spine. Curiosity and fear warred within me as I crept out of bed and tiptoed down the stairs, my heart pounding in my chest. What I saw when I reached the bottom step froze me in my tracks. Grandma was standing in the middle of the living room, her eyes glazed over and vacant, her body swaying slightly as if in a trance. And then, she began to speak, but it wasn't Grandma's voice that emerged from her lips. It was a voice filled with malice and darkness, a voice that sent icy tendrils of fear snaking through my veins. I watched in horror as Grandma's body convulsed and contorted, her features twisting into a grotesque parody of their usual warmth and kindness. I knew then, with a sickening sense of dread, that my grandmother was not herself. She was possessed by something malevolent and evil. Panic surged through me, threatening to overwhelm my senses, but I forced myself to stay calm. I had to help Grandma, no matter what it took. Summoning every ounce of courage I had, I stepped forward, my voice trembling but determined.
Grandma,
I called out, praying that some part of her remained aware of what was happening. For a moment, it seemed as though she didn't hear me, her body continuing to thrash and writhe in the grip of whatever dark force held her captive. But then, her eyes flickered, just for an instant, and I knew that she was still in there, somewhere, fighting to break free.
Grandma, listen to me.
I pleaded, stepping closer.
You have to fight it. You have to push it away.
But the demon's grip on Grandma was strong, its influence deep and insidious. It laughed in the face of my feeble attempts to save her, taunting me with its power and cruelty. Desperation welled up inside me as I searched for a way to banish the demon and free Grandma from its clutches. And then, in a moment of clarity, I remembered the old stories Grandma used to tell me about the power of love and faith to overcome even the darkest of evils. With a fierce determination burning in my heart, I closed my eyes and reached out to Grandma, pouring every ounce of love and strength I possessed into my words.
I love you, Grandma.
I whispered, my voice trembling with emotion.
You are stronger than this. You can fight it. I believe in you.
For a heartbeat, everything hung in the balance, the air thick with tension and uncertainty. And then, to my utter relief and astonishment, I felt a shift in the energy of the room. The darkness that had consumed Grandma began to recede, like a tide retreating from the shore, and I knew that we had won. As the last traces of the demon faded away, Grandma collapsed to the floor, her breathing ragged and labored. I rushed to her side, cradling her in my arms as tears of relief streamed down my face. She was safe, she was free, and nothing else mattered in that moment. In the days that followed, Grandma slowly began to recover from her ordeal, the memory of her possession fading like a bad dream. We never spoke of what had happened that night, but the bond between us grew stronger than ever as we clung to each other, grateful for the second chance we had been given. But even as we moved forward, the memory of that horrifying night lingered in the back of my mind, a constant reminder of the darkness that lurked just beneath the surface of our seemingly ordinary world. And so, I vowed to always remain vigilant, ready to face whatever horrors might come our way, secure in the knowledge that love and courage would always triumph in the end. Thanks for watching.